Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the stream. Yeah, it's Christmas break, and usually that means that a lot of us are going to be heading down to the gymnasium out at the campus at Iolani School, and I usually see a lot of this guy here. Unfortunately, this year with a lot of situation, the tournament isn't happening, but I still thought it'd be kind of cool to sit down and talk story a little bit with a fixture out at Iolani School, Dean Shimamoto. Thanks for coming on to the stream, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sad times. Sad times.
Yeah, you texted me on, what was that, Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, the tournament's probably starting sometime soon, and when you texted me that, it sort of really resonated for me. Just sort of how surreal kind of this year has been. What's it sort of been like? I know you're on campus, but obviously you guys are doing the best that can be done in terms of a school and especially with the sports as it relates to us. But how have things been?
School's been okay, other than the safety protocols and a lot of masks and face shields. I mean, it feels okay on our campus. So, but what doesn't feel the same is what goes on after school. And, obviously you guys know that better than anyone, but the sports just aren't around. And that's such a fixture, you're so used to seeing practices going on, the games, what game are you going to go watch? Obviously we'd have already gone through a whole football season and a volleyball and we had some strong showings in both of those sports. So it's a lot, you miss it a lot. I mean, and then when it comes back around to this time for basketball, what time of year it is if you're a basketball fan in Hawaii when the Iolani Classic comes around, and the amount of time we got to spend preparing for it and getting everything ready and doing all that. I mean, there's a lot more time spent now with the family because of that, because we don't have it around. But man, we really do miss it, and we miss being at the gym for long hours. I mean, and you've been there, you've done it, you've been in there till midnight, for 5 nights straight or whatever it is, but enjoying every minute of it and talking about all the things that happened and the guys that you've seen. So I mean, I really miss it, and I think a lot of big basketball fans in Hawaii really miss it.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I think last year was for me, kind of a more. I mean, I've done Iolani, I've done Iolani Classics for like the better half of a decade, but this last one, I was involved in every single game from tip to closing, and it's amazing the job that Iolani does to put this on, and you've been a big part of it, and it's just I've been it's been a privilege for me to be involved as much as I have been in the Classic, and so yeah, it's definitely there's a hole this year for me, and but the Classic, obviously it was meant to the way coach meant for it to be was a way to give some of the Hawaii guys a chance to see some of the best talent in the country, and a lot of them have come through. What are some examples of some of the guys that you've seen take the court at Iolani School over the years?
Well, I mean, it's been such a long run. I think we're over 35 years already in the Classic since Glenn Young started it back in 1983. I mean, the initial reason was to get his team better exposure to the mainland, and also Hawaii basketball better exposure to what they're seeing on the mainland. They had a really good team, I think, way back in '83, and they went to the mainland for a tournament and really just got destroyed. And that wasn't a thing that happened a lot. I mean, it happens a lot now where kids play on club teams, they play in tournaments in the mainland, and they get to see up close and personal what that type of competition looks like. And even more so now, right, with Instagram and YouTube and all these other sources, and even on ESPN, you get to see all these things. But man, that was the reason they went, and it's continued. And to say that Hawaii basketball has benefited from this is probably an understatement. It was slow going, I think, for that period of time, and you got to see it, and then you got used to it, and then you got more used to it, and then you started to see these successes come through in the Hawaii teams and the Hawaii talents.
Yeah, and over the course of the last, again, my history, in terms of being like really involved, I've seen a bunch when I was growing up and stuff, but not nearly, over the last 10 years with Scoring Live, but in recent memory, I mean, I think like the one that comes to mind the most when you think about success that local teams have had, at least in recent memory, like we mentioned, was Kahuku. I think this year, they reached the semifinals, and obviously they ran into a buzzsaw. You can see the score there with Finlay Prep. But what kind of what sort of did that do for I guess Hawaii basketball to see the kind of success that they did in this particular iteration of the Iolani Classic?
Oh, it was great. I mean, look at the gym. Look at the gym. It's unbelievable. I mean, it was standing room only. What a great atmosphere. I mean, a lot of, these teams, they play at such high levels that they don't get, the Finley Preps, the Oak Hills, they don't get the opportunity to play in a high school type of gym, in this high school type of environment. So even those guys have noted how great it was. But look at who's on the court for Kahuku. There's multiple Division I players on a Hawaii team. There's 3 guys that went on to play
Right.
Division I. Josiah Villa, well, he's now in Chaminade, but he was at the University of Hawaii after his mission. Samuta Avea, who's now sitting out of this year, but has become a star in the University of Hawaii. And then Daniel Fotu at St. Mary's. I mean, not often do you have 3 Division I players out of a Hawaii high school team, and I think that's a testament to the quality of Hawaii basketball and how it's gotten and how good it's gotten. And I think the Iolani Classic has played a role in that and getting these guys, exposure and getting them better and getting them used to what's at the next level and seeing that and improve, knowing how to improve their game and where they need to be.
Yeah, I remember that year, and that game was funny though, and I don't really have that. I could try to cue that up, but that whole Glenn Denning sort of stretch. I can't remember a time when, I think the fans get excited obviously for the dunks and all that, but when that kid took the court and started hitting all those threes. I mean, it was. You were there too. I mean, it was kind of an electric environment.
I was actually calling the game. I think
that's
for
right.
You guys.
Yeah.
Dylan Glenn Denning. I mean, he had that. I think it was that association with the Hawaii. That Hawaii crowd, right? They saw the little guy come in. We don't associate too much with the PJ Washingtons, I guess, but when it's Dylan Glenn Denning. The unsung guy that comes out and is able to chuck up some shots, man. I mean, it was fun and the whole crowd went nuts. But, I mean, Kahuku didn't fare so well in this game, but, they made it past Mount Vernon, who's a perennial powerhouse in New York. And they beat De La Salle, again, Northern California powerhouse, more known for football, but great basketball team. And, this Kahuku team made it all the way there, and you got to see this. I mean, you usually see it for football, right? I mean, the Kahuku fans and, the proud families and alums and all these guys coming out to support the football team, but it really felt like that same type of atmosphere coming out to the Iolani Classic. But even more than that, right? Because it wasn't just Kahuku. It was like Hawaii versus the mainland, and these are our guys. I don't care what school you went to. You were cheering for Kahuku. I mean? You wanted to see Josiah Villa, drop a little giant killer floater on some of these guys and just see how they're going to do. And really, the score of the game didn't matter. I mean, it was just fun to see and fun to watch. I mean, you get those flashes of those Virginia Chaminade, maybe you're going to be there to see that moment, but it was a special time, a special tournament just to see a Hawaii team do that well and have that kind of community support. Like I said, not just from Kahuku, but from the whole state.
Yeah, that was, really. I mean, and it wasn't like the field was a watered down field or something. There were obviously teams of pretty
not at all
pretty good
not
caliber.
Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, what was even greater was that Kailua in that year, Kailua made it to the winners bracket. They beat Corona del Sol. So
Oh,
that
that's
Corona
right.
del
That's
Sol
right. That's
team
right. That's right.
has,
CDS.
well, the two guys on that team, they had an incredible backcourt. So Saban Lee, who was just drafted in the last NBA draft. So, I mean, he was drafted. And then Alex Barcello, who
That's
initially
right.
went to Arizona, who's now at BYU. I think he had 26 last night for BYU. So, I mean, this is no joke. And Kailua came out and beat them. That was the Christian Meia years. But, I mean,
Yeah.
Kailua came out and beat them too. So they
Yeah.
Hawaii basketball, man. Like I said, I think the Classic played a role in this. But man, it's great to see our team's doing well against great competition. Like these teams are no slouches, and these, like I said, that guy went to he's in the NBA.
NBA.
You know,
Yeah. 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 For sure. Um, Saturday, which is kind of why I chose tonight. I think traditionally, and maybe it depends on the day that the classic starts on. But for me, when it's classic time, I know like, that night that is, and it's usually that Friday, Saturday, or somewhere in that range. That's the slam dunk night, and it's something that I think I'm not alone. Obviously, the crowd you see in that background is telling of how much people look forward to seeing this, and how special has it been to have the slam dunk, and you know what describes sort of for people that maybe haven't been there, what's that atmosphere like?
I mean, it's like what you see. I mean, especially how it was before. In the 80s into the 90s, without YouTube, without Instagram, you're not seeing dunks, a lot of dunks other than on NBA TV. You know what I mean? When you're watching the Bulls or whatever it was during that time, you see dunks, but you don't see dunk contests other than the NBA dunk contest. So this here, I mean, this was really the one. This is the best dunk contest in Hawaii for maybe forever. Because they just don't happen. But
Yeah.
man, I mean, over the years, so many guys have come through, and the people that have been in this crowd, you can see them kids lying in the floor, and I guarantee you they remember. I guarantee you they remember where they were sitting, who they saw, the dunks they did, and it's unforgettable. I mean, there was like a picture I think from the 80s of me and whatever grade I was at that time, fifth, I don't know what grade, and they're showing me, and I could see myself sitting on the floor, and I remember that time. I mean, and through those years, it was and then later into the early 2000s, you had like the Josh Smith, who went on to win the NBA dunk contest. The Terrence Ross. For guys that remember, even back a little far, there was like Guillermo Diaz. I think he was about 5'10" with like a 40 some odd inch vertical. Darren Hancock in the
Oh yeah, Darren Hancock.
mid 90s. There was some incredible dunk contests, and like I said, it wasn't something you could see up close, especially through the mid 90s. But man, now when you get to see it, it's still fun. I mean, it's still fun to watch.
Yeah, for me, again, I kind of speak in like scoring live era terms. The one that was memorable for me was seeing Ben McLemore that year. I thought that guy did some special things, and another kid that I thought, and another guy that's obviously playing in the NBA, Justin Anderson. I thought he did pretty well. I think this is the one where he brought all the kids out, and what a treat it must be for these kids to be involved, and these are guys that are gonna probably be playing at the next level. Like how fun is that to see guys that are destined for to play
Yeah,
in the national
absolutely. I
basketball.
mean, what's funny is I don't remember even seeing this video. I don't remember at the time, but I just saw Sam Wheeler is one of the kids in there, and Sam
No
Wheeler
way.
graduated in 2019 from Iolani. I coached him, and I see him, one of the kids. His face is right there. That Justin Anderson is gonna jump over. So I mean, it's one of those things. Like I said, these kids will remember, no doubt about it.
Sam
And
Wheeler, no way. Oh, that's
yeah, that
crazy.
was it. And if I could see more faces, I'm probably guessing it's more of those guys even. But Justin Anderson was was a return guy. He came shucks maybe 2 or 3 times during his career to the Iolani Classic, and he was great, right? I mean, he
Oh yeah.
was such a fan favorite because he got all the kids involved, and he'd be high fiving them, he'd be giving autographs outside, and I gotta imagine, right, like that there's these guys that have come to the Iolani Classic, they've gone on to the NBA, and funny enough, so the Houston Rockets practiced in our gym before they played. I think it was maybe 2 years ago with Harden and Westbrook. But on that roster was Tyson Chandler and Ben McLemore, and we actually got the opportunity to talk to them at the practice, and get a little interview in. But the questions were about what they remember about the Iolani Classic, and they were just telling like funny stories because like Tyson Chandler was at Dominguez Compton, and he goes, we don't get to come out to Hawaii. There's no beaches in Compton, and so they remember. 25 years later, they remember. Ben McLemore remembers being in Hawaii, playing in the Iolani Classic. So it's not just another tournament to them, and that's what's kind of neat. Like, we think it's super special, but they did also. Super cool.
Yeah, and before we move on from the dunk, I think one of the things that was really cool for me, and probably for a lot of people in Hawaii, was to see, you think, like, we talk about this, all these mainland kids, obviously, it's self preordained, they're gonna win the dunk contest, but lo and behold, we hit 2017, and Cameron Victorino Kato wins it. Like, how big of a surprise was it, maybe, or like what does that sort of mean for where Hawaii basketball sort of is emerging, even 30 years later, worth of the Iolani Classic?
Unbelievable, right? I mean, you think, nah, no Hawaii kid's gonna win the dunk contest, right? Like, it's not gonna happen. And to see him come out, and if anyone ever saw Cam, right, you knew he had the ability to do something special, and you're just thinking, man, can he do it? Could it be something that really is possible for him to come out and win the Iolani Classic dunk contest? Because, like I said, I'm willing to bet, and I hadn't talked to him about it, but I'm willing to bet that if you ask Cam, he has come and seen however many dunk contests. He's come with his dad or with his uncles or with his, because that family and the friends of that family are sports fans. So I know they've gone to the Iolani Classic dunk contest more times than not. And, to see him come out and actually perform well and win it, that, unreal, right? Unreal. And again, then there were kids in that contest. I mean, there were kids sitting down courtside watching that too, thinking, man, this is possible. Like, this is something that I can do. Remember, we saw Cam Victory, the kid from Kamehameha, went and won the dunk contest, and, we can do this. We can do something special. So, again, I mean, I think it means so much to Hawaii people, and then it has this generational influence, I think, moving forward. So that it was unbelievable. So great for Cam to, because, I mean, it's one thing to be able to jump. It's one thing to be able to do dunks, but to do it when everyone's watching, to do it when it counts, really, that's a whole other thing. So great moment for Hawaii basketball, great moment for Kamehameha basketball, great moment for his family, and for Cam. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and another thing that and it's kind of a recent development, but one of the things that I really thought was a nice thing to move forward on, in terms of what the Iolani Classic brings to the table, was the addition of the girls tournament. I think it's been a little while. I think maybe like what, six or so years or somewhere in that range. But I just think, like, the level of the teams that come in, and obviously it's not as many teams in terms of a field as the boys are, but just talk about sort of what's the impact been on the girls game, at least in your estimation, and and seeing teams like this Kona Waina team here take on a power like Bishop O'Dowd, like again, like, what's the impact for that for Hawaii, for Kona Waina?
Really the same. The reason why the boys tournament started is the reason why the girls tournament got started, and it was a long time coming. I think I'm like, we've had great girls talent for years. Here in Hawaii, like, you see these girls go on and be successful, not just at the lower levels, but Kona's putting girls in Division One. The Kona program is incredible, and so successful over time. So it's great to be able to see our girls get the opportunity to play against the mainland, I guess, powerhouse teams. And with girls basketball, it's a little bit different, right? Like, you don't have this gigantic difference in size in a lot of cases. The girls teams here, like at Kona, they could have a 5'11", 6', 6'2", and the biggest girls on these other teams might go 6'2", 6'4". So it's not the difference between 6'10" and 6'4" in the boys game. And our girls here in Hawaii are so skilled, and that Kona program so skilled, that we really can compete. Like, we really can go out and compete for a championship and beat these teams like the Bishop O'Dowd, using high levels of skill and competitiveness and all those things that, Hawaii, I think teams in general, no matter what the sport brings. And you saw that year. I mean, the Molinas, she's as good as that. I mean, these Hawaii girls are not just going on to play. They're not just going on to play in Division One. Like, Chanel Molina is like average, can score 20 some odd points in the Pac-12, right?
Yep.
I mean, these are not just okay girls, right? I mean, Kylie Maeda went on to play. I mean, many more that I can't even name, but they're so good. And the thing is, I wish more people would come out to watch the girls' games. It's great for our girls in Hawaii to have this level of competition, be able to go against them. But I wish more people would come out, because it is high-level basketball. It's not the alley-oops and dunks. I mean, it's not. But the basketball IQ that these girls play with is so high. It wasn't it wasn't two Hawaii teams, but a couple years ago, I think it was Archbishop Mitty and Clovis West. And they were, I think they might have been both top 5 in the country. But sophomore on that team was Haley Jones, and she was the number 1 player in the country. Now at Stanford, who's now the number 1 team in the country for girls. And that was one of the best basketball games I've seen, just because those girls are so good. I mean, they ran great stuff, they executed it, they made plays, they made shots, and it wasn't just, second tier. Like, it was top tier, top level, high quality basketball. And I wish more people had gotten to see it, because it was so good. And that's what's great about the Girls Classic. It's great basketball. It gives our Hawaii girls opportunity to measure themselves. And a lot of times they're more than measuring up to these girls and these teams on the mainland. So, I mean, the girls tournament's been great.
Yeah, and even last year, I think, was it Mater Dei and Iolani, and I think, like, the crowd was actually pretty good too. I remember I wasn't able to go there, but from what I recall, I mean, like, I'm hearing from, I think it was John Tamanaha about that. Like, it's, it was kind of it was a contested, a really pretty closely contested game too, if I recall too. So, I mean, these last couple of years, obviously Iolani has been, a force to be reckoned with, but yeah, another great addition. And, I'm really glad that, it used to be a week, and now it's, basically, 2 weeks of, high level basketball, whether it's on the girls side or the boys. So, again, something that obviously, we're missing this year. But I'm really looking forward to, really hoping that, and I'm sure, all of the Iolani community is also hoping that, things can sort of, normalize enough for us to, welcome back, which I think a lot of a lot of these mainland schools that are in whatever rotation or waiting in line or whatever it is. I'm sure they're anxiously sort of hoping to hear about the tournament next year. So, and as you mentioned too, I mean, it's not like the planning happens like a week before. Like you guys obviously are probably having to proactively sort of think about some of those things. So I mean, I'm guessing that's sort of in process to a certain extent for next year. Is that kind of safe to say, or?
I think we're kind of relishing the time off. It's one of those things. It was sad, but it was relieving because there's so much work to get done. But yeah, every year we've tried to improve things. At the Classic. Now, there's more of an online presence with the broadcasted games. We broadcast the games outside, so the TV's outside. We've done some historical things about the teams that have come to the Classic and the players that have come to the Classic. And, really just trying to make it a better experience for not just the mainland teams coming here, but also for the Hawaii people to come out and view it. So, we have more time to, I guess, add in a few more tricks to the show. But it's like I said, it's so, I mean, we're sad about it because of what it brought. I mean, this last NBA draft, and this is kind of a cool thing, a cool little stat, but this last NBA draft, there were 7 players in those short 2 rounds that played in the Iolani Classic. And so that was the most. We've had maybe 4 in the past, but there were 7 players that we call Iolani Classic alums that got drafted. Some came in different years. So I don't know if you remember, but Jalen Smith went to the Phoenix Suns this year. He came with Mount St. Joseph as a sophomore. There was Peyton Pritchard. Isaiah Stewart came with La Lumiere, I think was the tournament MVP. Saban Lee from Corona del Sol went in the second round, who we talked about a little earlier. Peyton Pritchard from West Lynn. Kenyon Martin Jr., who also came, with that Sierra Canyon team with Scottie Pippen's son. Remember, I mean, those things, right? You're talking about seeing Scottie Pippen and Kenyon Martin courtside, right? Like in the Iolani gym. But those types of things, and there's that many guys. I mean, I don't know if you remember, or you were around, but Michael Jordan's son came.
Yeah.
One year, and everyone, there's all this buzz of, is MJ going to show up? What day is he coming? Where do and then from our standpoint, where do we put him if he does come?
Right.
This is crazy, but so many great moments throughout so many classics, and people that were there, no matter what age you were, remember, and they remember seeing Kevin Durant play, and Kevin, and Kemba Walker, and guys that they see move on, to go win NBA championships, right? I mean, like a Quinn Cook.
Right. Yeah.
Quinn Cook just won with the Lakers. He won with the Warriors, I think.
Yeah.
And, he came a couple times to the Iolani Classic, once with Oak Hill. He came with, before that with DeMatha when he was a sophomore. So he's kind of a Iolani Classic double alum. But these guys are going out and winning NBA championships. So it's really great. And you remember seeing them. And for me, I remember coaching against them. And for anybody that played in the Classic, they definitely remember playing against them. It's a memory forever. And
yeah, for sure.
That's why it's so sad, right, when it doesn't happen.
Yeah. I think what was neat last year too was, seeing someone like a Brandon Roy, as a coach, and it was, I remember Brandon Ching, he was just like, can I go down and get a picture with him? And it's cool to be able to talk story. I talk story a little bit with Brandon Roy, about, what's like coaching up there, what's the situation up there where he's at and their leagues, and like we talk a little bit about ScoringLive, and he was like, he never really seen that, so it was an interesting conversation to have. But it's just neat to be able to interface with some guys, in kind of like a different setting, even getting to talk to like Scottie Pippen, he's just sitting over there in the courtyard eating eating a plate lunch or something, and he's just what's up, Scotty, and it's just it's not something that you really typically would think is something you could get in Hawaii. So yeah, that's what's really kind of neat for me. But as you mentioned, though, you remember a lot of these times coaching in the Classic, and obviously coaching in general. I'm sure you're still involved. Obviously, you are with Iolani at basketball program in some capacity. But you miss it. Any you getting the bug again. Sort of where are you at? I'm sure your kids are enjoying the extra FaceTime now. But sort of where are you at now in terms of basketball and what's your any future sort of thoughts, or not yet?
No, not yet. I mean, really, I left because of my kids, and it's been great being able to spend a lot of time with them. It was weird. It was an adjustment to have to be sitting in the crowd and watching a game from that view. But I can tell you that the stress off my mind and the time commitment to be at practice and planning things, I didn't miss that part. I do miss the kids and interacting with the kids and being a part of the Classic as a coach and some of those moments, those competitive moments, but not enough to bring me back in any way at this point. And, especially, well, it's so weird now. I don't envy, Coach Ryan Hirata trying to deal with the pandemic and trying to manage things, practice in this scenario and trying to plan to whether or not you might have a season or not have it. I don't know. I mean, it's just wild. But, I've had so many great moments with my kids. So I tell everybody, that I'm still coaching. I just don't coach anyone over 8 years old at this point, so it's been fun though, to be able to look at it from a different angle. And I have a lot of different appreciation for a lot of different things. And, it's I've gotten to do a lot of things, and, including like the cooler things, obviously it's my kids and everything, but, last year I was able to go to the Maui Invitational, which to me, I think the parallels between the Maui Invitational and the Iolani Classic are numerous, right? Like this is kind of like the Iolani Classic's almost like the high school version of the Maui Invitational. It happens in this small place. It's packed. It has great teams. You get to see Chaminade play against the other teams, but you see guys walking around like. So I was able to pop into a game the year Zion and RJ Barrett and them came, but I was there last year with Anthony Edwards and Obi Toppin, and you get to see the following of the Dayton Flyers, I mean, and it's just basketball nonstop. You got to bring a pad to sit on, otherwise your bottom side's just hurting because you're sitting there for 6 hours. But I mean, and that's so much of the feel, these basketball junkies that know it's Classic time, they come up and sit there. You see these fixtures in the gym, the brother Nolan and Donnie Martin and there's many others, that are just there for long hours, including yourselves and all the media guys, It's so long, but it's so great and so much fun.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. I mean, like you said, I mean, it's been kind of a welcome, I think, break. I mean, it's not one that I think any of us are sort of hoping is much more extended than hopefully the balance of this year. But it has been sort of nice. But I think Kalani Takase, for one, was happy to see UH get back into playing and covering something sports, and just sort of I just think it is. I think sports in general is going to hopefully add, if we can move into getting some of that back in, it's going to add some normalcy. That's obviously pretty welcome. So you probably don't have your shoes with you, but one of the things we do is we have a sneaker blog that we kind of do on a stream, and obviously through the course of your years at Iolani, I showed some of the guys on the stream a few weeks back. I have obviously managed to secure the 25th anniversary Air Force Iolani Classic. But any not doesn't got to be classic related, but any shoes that you might have come across. I don't know if it was a hookup from Nike or whatever, but did you end up becoming somewhat of a shoe guy through your long and illustrious sort of career as a head basketball coach at Iolani, or?
I sort of.
Yeah.
I would say sort of. Um, so my first thing with shoes was really to go back from a nostalgic standpoint and go get the shoes that I had
Hmm.
and I played with. So
Yeah.
maybe it's showing my age a little bit, but um, when I was in sixth or seventh grade was when the Jordan 3s and 4s were coming out, and so I had black Jordan 3s and black Jordan 4s. So when they retroed, I went out and made sure to get them, and I actually had and 5s, and that's kind of where it stopped. And then I think late 90s were the 11s. So I have fresh, I guess, retro black 3s, black 4s, black 5s, the Concord 11, and I don't know. I think I've been running out of room, but I do have, and this is not even a basketball thing, but because I got into the shoe thing for just a little bit. Have you heard of those Pele dunks?
Yeah. Yeah. You have Hawaii SBs. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I have the Pele dunks. They're fresh too. I haven't worn them yet, but
Really.
it's weird though, cause I'm like too old to wear that kind of stuff, and I just look like the old guy wearing that thing. So I don't know when I even would wear it, but so it's kind of bad that they're just sitting there, just in the boxes. They look nice though. But
Yeah.
I was kind of you know what it's become over the last couple of years is that the Iolani Classic gave me an excuse to say, you know what, I'm gonna put these on this time. I'm gonna wear the 4s today, or I'm gonna wear the 3s today, and
Yeah.
because that's like the community that would appreciate those. Whether you were an older guy and had them, or whether you were a younger guy and seen them or tried to get them. Um, I've been using the classic to kind of just sneakily pop them on and kind of just walk around. Not like I'm trying to show them off, but you get a couple of looks here and there and a couple of
Yeah.
comments here and there, which is enough.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the Pele dunks are gonna make an appearance. Those might just sit around
Oh,
and be
but
a showcase piece. But
this would have been the year. The year the SB has been this year. Thanks a lot to a guy named Travis Scott to kind of, make the prices ridiculous. That shoe is now pretty valuable, actually. I'll let you know a little more about that later on. But yeah. So obviously it's hard to stay away from sneaker culture. Despite not wanting to, it kind of just happens, and I guess that's part of the allure of sports. So before we get off obviously you haven't been out of the coaching loop for a little while, but you've obviously had a lot of players come through over the years. You have any like recent stories, like things that guys like in recent memory are up to, and of note. I know you mentioned like a Sam Wheeler being in that video, but what are some of these Iolani guys up to, outside of, doesn't even have to be within sports, but what are some of these your former players sort of up to, and making a name for themselves maybe in arenas that maybe or may not be basketball related?
yeah, I mean, our guys have not necessarily been the ones that were the superstars. With the exceptions of the Derek Lowe's, right? Like we've kind of prided ourselves on this whole team concept. So I would say the majority of our guys don't go on to even play at the next level. I mean, they make choices where maybe they could play at a small college, but decide not to. They want the full college experience from a student standpoint without the athletic maybe burden at that point. But Hugh Hoagland is still playing. He's a grad transfer over at UC Davis. Um, Noah Bumanglang was at Grinnell, for last year, but they didn't have any basketball this year. And so I'm not sure if he's going to try and transfer or move on somewhere else. But, he got some run for them last year, Grinnell. And if you don't know Grinnell's score 150 points a game, sub a new unit in every, whatever it is, 75 seconds, and just turn and burn, shoot threes, press, run, pass it up. So he was there doing that. And, a lot of guys just kind of finishing up school. Zach Busher finished up his eligibility. I think he was at Concordia last year, finishing that up. Ikaika Phillip was at Grinnell prior to Noah getting there. He finished his, and he's on being an engineer, and just so many of those types of things where they've gone on with their lives and found their jobs, and I guess in some cases maybe even starting families. But it's pretty neat. But I mean, it's still awesome to go follow Hugh, which I think he was in the running to be on the national team for Japan. He actually has dual citizenship and
right.
is eligible for the Japan national team to play with Rui Hachimura and Yuta Watanabe and some other. And I think, funny enough, like Nick Fazikis is like Japanese or something too. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm hoping he's in the running again. Come, what would it be, this coming summer, to do that. So that would be an incredible experience for someone to go on and play in the Olympics for basketball, in a home country. I mean, that'd be pretty incredible. But yeah, a lot of guys just kind of moving on, the Sam Wheelers, the Kavika Lees and Frankie Felix and those guys just, living that college life.
Yeah, I actually saw Kavika. I surf when I get a chance with his pops out at Ala Moana. So it was crazy how that sort of story came up, because I don't know, we were talking about something, and then he found out I did Scoring Live, and then he's like, "Oh, you know my?" I was like, "Yeah, what the heck?" And I see him at a lot of games. I saw him a lot of games, and it was just crazy because I was just used to seeing him in the water, but it's a small world, obviously, and but yeah, again, I really wish, for one, I love seeing you at Iolani, and every time there's a game, I know you'll be there, and I love, obviously, this time of the year, being at the gym, in the air conditioning, and sitting up at the press table and doing our thing, and it's been obviously a little disappointing that we couldn't do that this year, but we're really looking forward to and crossing our fingers for next year, and it's been great talking to you, and appreciate you taking the time, and always dropping basketball knowledge, whether it's on or off the record. So I appreciate you sharing your expertise and your knowledge, and look forward to talking with you more in the future.
Yeah, man. No, hey, and from all of us in the sports community, we really appreciate what you guys do. I mean, I think it's as much a labor of love, just like for us doing the classic. It's as much a labor of love. You're not breaking the bank with what you're making and what you're doing here. I mean, it's because you love Hawaii sports, and it's as much of a service as it is a business, for the community. So we all appreciate what you guys are doing. And during this pandemic, and I know there's other people out there with me that when they're on their phones, they go to Scoring Live and expecting to see a score just out of reflex. Like, it's like a reflex during the season. Like, like checking ESPN, like, you're waiting for the elevator or you're waiting for something and you check, and Scoring Live's one of those ones, man, that you click, and it's just not right. Not seeing like the live scores and the updates and the stories. I know you guys been keeping up doing things like this and putting up old things, which is super cool to be able to see that and let everyone kind of flash back for a little bit and reminisce. But we miss being able to see that there. But no joke, I don't know how many times I've mistakenly, or okay, scoring live, just like, hey, scoring, ESPN, like the same thing, but for Hawaii. Like I've done it so many times already, and I still do it, just hoping something's there, like maybe there's a sport that got going.
Yep.
But I mean, that is a testament to the work that you guys have put in, and how much of a resource you have become for Hawaii high school sports. So we really do appreciate it, and we miss you, and we hope the full run is back with sports and with you guys. So
Yeah,
really do
for
appreciate
sure.
it.
For sure. The new year, hopefully we get, some things can maybe, you never know how the course is going to change. And I think there's a lot of optimism that, maybe we can get something going. So, here's the hoping. But, with that said, I'm really hoping that I will be seeing you then in that capacity sooner than later.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you'll be at a game. And everybody here on the stream, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I hope you guys. We'll probably be jumping on before the before Christmas and stuff. I got some pickups that are coming in, so we'll do a sneaker life in a bit, and maybe we'll have Coach Dean on, and he can show off some of his. Take a look at those Pelés. But everybody, thank you for tuning in today, and look forward to seeing you guys all again in another stream. On behalf of Coach Dean, any shout outs before we head out? Any?
Nah, man, just the scoring live, just the sports, just everyone that's been putting in that work, and all the coaches still doing it. So we're hoping to have it back. I mean, I'm a fan now, but I'm hoping to see everyone back in a gym or on a field somewhere soon, sometime soon.
Yeah, that's well said. So with that, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you again on the next one. Okay, bye-bye.